right, welcome back to the show. Today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, the Supermax contract and its implications on the NBA. What is the Supermax contract? Well, it's actually called the Designated Veteran Player Exception. Basically what it does is it lets small market teams or large market teams retain their star by paying them loads of money, by letting them pay the player 35% of the salary cap. So it enables the team to overpay or appropriately pay their star player and retain them to make it so that they don't go join a super team. This exception was created right after Kevin Durant joined the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. I think the league said, hey, I think we have a problem here. This 35% of the salary cap contract can be 5 years. Also, it's only available to players who are going into their 7th, 8th, or 9th year in the league. So chances are this player is kind of old. Also, players that have been in the league 10 years can also qualify for 35% of the salary cap without having to meet the qualifications of the Supermax contract. So what are those Supermax contract qualifications? Well, the player can either have made an All-NBA team 2 of the past 3 years, or made it just the previous year, and now he's up for a new contract, was Defensive Player of the Year the previous year, or was the NBA MVP 1 of the past 3 years. This is what constitutes a superstar player. But is being third team All-NBA the previous year a superstar player that's worth 35% of a team's payroll? Absolutely not. That is not a superstar player. The Supermax contract should be saved for players who are actually at the top tier, probably the top 1 or 2, maybe 3 players in the league. But players are eligible even if they're the 15th to the 20th best player in the league. So the way I see it is the Supermax contract is awkward. It puts teams in an awkward position where if a player is eligible to be signed with a Supermax, he is going to expect it. If he makes third team All-NBA, that is a very low standard for a player to warrant getting 35% of the salary cap. He's going to expect it because in his eyes, he's a superstar. The team will look at him and say, he's not a superstar. This is awkward. A team has to look at him and say, hey, congratulations on your third team All-NBA, but I'm sorry, we're not giving you 35% of the salary cap for 5 years. The Hornets ran into this with Kemba Walker in 2019. He made third team All-NBA, and I'm sure he wanted the Supermax. The Hornets did not give it to him. He qualified. Technically, he was a superstar, but they said no. The Hornets didn't even offer him a max contract, but the Celtics did, so he left and he went to the Celtics. Could you imagine if Kemba Walker had signed a Supermax? Hornets fans were upset that they didn't keep Kemba around and they wanted him to be offered the Supermax. He would still be on that contract. Kemba Walker, a guy who just signed for, I believe, the vet minimum with the Dallas Mavericks, would be on a Supermax contract. That would undoubtedly been the worst contract in the league for the past 2 years. The Warriors evaded this awkward conversation with Klay Thompson. In 2019, Kemba made third team All-NBA. Klay Thompson did not. He would have been eligible had he made it. Luckily, the Warriors didn't have to have that conversation. He wasn't eligible for the Supermax. They can say, oh, Klay, we really wanted to pay you 35% of the payroll. It would have been so great to have 2 players occupying 70% of the salary cap. We would have done it. We wanted it for you. We wanted you to be third team All-NBA. They could have said that and it wouldn't have mattered. Klay Thompson also not worth 35% of the salary cap. Here's a little clip of Klay being told he didn't make third team All-NBA and he was not eligible for the Supermax contract.
Really made the All-NBA team, which would have elevated your potential.
Oh, you did? They already came out?
Yeah, it came out today. You were like right behind Beal. Right behind, we got third team. But you barely, yeah, Kemba got it. You were a couple.
I mean, that's cool and all, but like, when you go to 5 straight finals, I respect those guys, but when you go to 5 straight, I mean, it takes more than just a couple of NBA guys. It's like all-time team, but
Bad for Klay, good for the Warriors. I think a lot of these organizations feel pressured from their fans to keep their star player. I think fans grow attached to these players and they want to keep them. They believe that the success of their franchise is heavily based on the performance of the superstar player and they need to retain them. So they keep this player, they sign him to a huge deal, which inhibits them from signing other free agents and stifles the growth of that team and its potential. Let's take John Wall and Russell Westbrook. Both of them were the stars of their their franchise. And they both received Supermax contracts. Very quickly, within 2 or 3 years, those contracts became commonly known as the worst contracts in the league because they were huge. They were untradeable for guys who had high peaks but were definitely on the decline. Wall because he was injured, and Russ just because he wasn't performing the way he used to. I don't know. He was still playing. He wasn't injured. He just wasn't as good anymore. Luckily, the Wizards were able to finesse their way out of that contract, and Oklahoma City too was able to finesse their way out of the contract and get Chris Paul and actually had a pretty decent season. Now the Lakers are stuck holding the hot potato of the Russell Westbrook contract, which has been a bad contract for at least 2 years. A lot of teams are wise and they bail on this awkward conversation and they trade their star early. They know that conversation's coming up. That guy's going to want an extension or re-sign there with a Supermax contract, and they say, hey, let's get this guy out of there. Let's send him packing to a different team where they can deal with this awkward conversation. Like Jimmy Butler in 2018. The Bulls said, hey, we don't want to pay him Supermax contract. Let's get back some other players that are on some smaller deals, probably aren't as good, but they're at least more valuable deals. So good on the Bulls, very wise. Jimmy Butler is the king of the third team All-NBA. I like Jimmy Butler, but he is not Supermax money good. A lot of times the players who actually warrant the Supermax contract don't even want it because they are superstars in the league, like Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard. Both of them forced trades before they were eligible for their Supermax contracts. Why would they leave all this money on the table? Why would they go to a different organization that can't pay them as much? Because they want to go there. It's only losing a little bit more money. It's only the difference between 30% of the salary cap and 35% of the salary cap. They can make that money by eating Doritos on TV or drinking a bottle of Avion on TV. They can make endorsement deals. They can eat Doritos and make that money back. They don't care. They are superstars. People are going to buy Doritos because they saw Anthony Davis eating Ruffles or Doritos or whatever that commercial was. So sometimes it doesn't even work. Sometimes the Supermax contract, the incentive to get a guy to stay on his team doesn't even work. And it goes to guys like John Wall and Bradley Beal who are not worth a Supermax contract. The only players that I believe currently who are on Supermax contracts that deserve them are, or not deserve them, I should say, but warrant that kind of money. Because if someone offers you that money, you got to take it. I'm not saying anybody doesn't deserve it, but the only ones that I would have offered would be Jokic, Giannis, and Steph Curry. Those contracts are very expensive and they will impede the success of those teams, but I gotta say, you gotta do it. All three of those guys are one of ones. There's no one else like them in the league. You're not gonna get that type of talent anywhere else. I want to talk about 2 players on Supermax contracts that I believe shouldn't be on Supermax contracts, but might be a little bit divisive. Let's start with Damian Lillard. I don't believe Damian Lillard should be on a Supermax contract. I believe he's close, but I believe the Blazers are sentenced to playoff mediocrity for a very long time, and they have been for a while since he signed that contract. It makes the entire payroll very unflexible. They can't get another star besides Dame Lillard, and he needs a star player. He's not good enough to carry a team on his own. He's very good, but he is not Supermax good. He is not a one of one. There are other players that are just as good as Damian Lillard, and now that he's been extended, I think the Blazers are kind of messed over for the next 2 years. They're gonna be good, they're gonna make the playoffs, they might win a series, but they're not gonna be finals contenders. I think the Blazers should trade Dame. I think they can get a pretty good return back. He's doing pretty well, his stock is high. Blazers gotta blow it up. The Dame time Blazers are not going to win championships. They're going to be good, they're going to be solid, they're going to win games, but they will not win championships. The obvious contract that is a terrible Supermax contract is Bradley Beal. I do not know what the Wizards were thinking. Bradley Beal is not a superstar player. He is a great player. I don't even want to sound like I'm on Bradley Beal. He is a great player, but to pay someone 35% of the salary cap, they have to be either Steph, Giannis, maybe Embiid, or Jokic. I'm sorry, but those are the only players that are worth that kind of money. Otherwise, you got to figure it out. You got to send them somewhere else. You got to get assets back. Bradley Beal is not worth that amount of money, and no one is going to trade for that contract. Also, Bradley Beal has a no trade clause. So even if a team did want to trade for Bradley Beal, he might not even want to go. It's such a horrible contract. It really bums me out. I hate to see it. I really do. It's if you're a Wizards fan, my heart goes out to you. It's a really bad use of the Supermax contract. Personally, I think a way to solve this issue is have your Supermax contract, but don't luxury tax the Supermax contract unless that contract is traded to another team. I think that will help out with guys forcing their way out of a team. Teams already don't want to trade for that Supermax contract because it's expensive, and then they have to pay the luxury tax on top of it. It's going to be more of an incentive for the guy to stay. All right, thank you for being here. I hope I nailed it. I hope that was good, or I hope I nailed this take. Or if you have questions, I also have another video on the Supermax, but it's kind of old, so the style's a little different. Check it out. Thanks for being here.